It's important to understand where players stack up compared to their peers in IDP leagues. It helps us value our players and create the ultimate roster. What's up, everyone? I'm Axton Harding with IDP Plus, and today we're covering overall IDP rankings after a quick introduction. Hi again. Today is the day for overall IDP rankings. I'm Axton Harding, as I mentioned before. We're going to get into some Dynasty IDP rankings. We're going to combine defensive linemen, linebackers, and defensive backs today. I've got the top 36 for you, and I just want to preface this show with some information here. IDP rankings are very much league specific. I kind of approach the overall rankings with the following in mind that I've noticed firsthand in most IDP leagues that I've participated or drafted in. Top tier edge rushers are premium value. Linebackers and tackles often win out overall in the big picture. And defensive backs are a dime a dozen for the most part. This is by far the most volatile and varying position in IDP. So just those three things. Top tier edge rushers are premium, linebackers are king, and defensive backs are a dime a dozen. So if you can get those top end guys at a good value, that's kind of the strategy there with defensive backs. Otherwise, just kind of punt and wait till later on. You can get them via the waiver wire. So the main thing is just kind of be familiar with your league scoring. And if it's tough to tell by looking at the settings, you can go to your league's prior year finishers and just kind of have a look at the overall top 100 for the last few years and just make a mental note of what you see. How many players of each position end up finishing among the top 10 overall, the top 20, 50, 100? This will tell you a lot. Linebackers at the top means it's pretty tackle friendly. If you're seeing a lot of defensive backs among the top end overall finishers, you find a league with some heavy DB scoring, like some high points for pass deflections, interceptions, return yards, and maybe some kick return, punt return, special team stuff. Or even sometimes you can have premium set for the defensive back positions depending on your platform. And then a majority of the time you'll see top tier edges take up much of the top 10, and then linebackers reign supreme kind of in the middling, kind of as you get to kind of the middle of like the top overall finishers. Not necessarily at the top end, but then after like the top 10 or 15 or top handful, they're just littered throughout. So like I said, just kind of some mental notes to take while you're getting into your leagues and you're kind of having a look at these rankings. So let's get into it. Before we jump into the overall list, I just want to preface again with some kind of Travis Hunter stats and tidbits to kind of keep in mind in your drafts. First of all, if you're in an IDP only league that allows for offensive scoring, Travis Hunter should be treated as the 101 overall. I have already personally taken him there myself in an IDP only best ball league. So Travis Hunter is a unicorn. We've never seen this before where a guy plays both sides of the ball. If you have this opportunity, absolutely take advantage. 96 receptions for 1,258 yards and 15 touchdowns in his last season at Colorado State. Then add in 36 tackles, 4 interceptions, and 11 pass deflections on defense. You're literally starting a wide receiver in your DB slot. So don't overthink it. He's the real deal on a team with a revamped offensive line, a motivated new coaching staff who's dedicated to improving their quarterback and protecting their franchise quarterback. And they now have a defense with kind of some hope and some new important pieces as well that can help kind of take a step forward from a year ago where we saw them kind of lay down throughout the season with Doug Peterson in there. Now Liam Cohen comes in. They've got some new life. I think we could see a pretty big year from Travis Hunter. So, without further ado, enough small talk. Let's get into those overall rankings. Oh, in our top 10, we've got Aiden Hutchinson at the very top, edge rusher for the Detroit Lions. Then we've got at number 2, TJ Watt, edge rusher for the Steelers. Max Crosby, edge rusher for the Vegas Raiders, comes in at number 3. Then we've got Micah Parsons at 4, edge rusher for the Dallas Cowboys. Then we've got Myles Garrett at number 5, edge rusher for the Cleveland Browns. Then at 6, we've got Nick Bosa, edge rusher for the San Francisco 49ers. Roquan Smith at 7, linebacker for the Ravens. Zaire Franklin at 8, linebacker for the Colts. Then we've got Fred Warner, a 49ers linebacker at 9. And Will Anderson rounds out the top 10 edge rusher for the Houston Texans. So the first 6 guys, Hutchinson, Watt, Crosby, Parsons, Garrett, and Bosa, are the primo cream of the crop edge rushers that I was talking about. They're the guys that are going to hold the most value in your IDP leagues. So beyond them, the position just kind of gets tougher to predict. The guys just kind of jump up and down, but these guys will often find themselves among the top so many every year. So they have a tried and true floor that we've seen year over year, so we scoop them up first because it makes more sense, and the position gets a lot more broad and tougher to predict after this point. So also, if you compare them to the linebackers, for example, where the position group is a lot deeper, unless your league just really boosts defensive linemen, you'll see quite a bit more linebackers overall in the, say, top 100 than you will defensive linemen. So hence the perceived value and urgency to draft the premier defensive lineman early in your drafts. So now at this point in the defensive lineman rankings, things get a bit shakier. So we like to, for me anyways, this is where I like to get in on the top tier linebackers. After Nick Bosa, those top several edge rushers. Some people will throw Will Anderson in there, but not quite for me. At this point, I'd like to take the top linebackers. So Roquan Smith, Zaire Franklin, Fred Warner, 3 guys who have year-over-year production, high floor, high ceiling players. Roquan Smith with 4 straight 154-plus tackle seasons. Zaire Franklin with 3 straight 166-plus tackle seasons since he broke out in 2022. Then we've got Fred Warner with 7 straight 118 to 130 tackle seasons, and he's definitely a stat stuffer as well. Both these guys extremely high floor, extremely high ceiling players. And at this point in drafts, rather than taking leftovers from the defensive linemen, I like to take the cream of the crop from the linebackers. So that's my case for the top tier linebackers here in my top 10 rankings. Then we'll jump back to our top 10 and we'll round it out here with Will Anderson. A little on Will Anderson. He's kind of a hopeful at the end of this. How do I want to say? He's almost in his like a little hopeful tier at number 10 here as he kind of looks to maybe jump into that top tier of premier edge rushers. He's presented plenty of flash in the pass rush game, but compared to the group at the top, he just falls pretty noticeably short of that group of guys. We've seen enough to know that he can kind of take another step up with another year, with another season under his belt, but he'll either need to take a serious jump in sacks from 2024, where he had 11, if he wants to jump up to that tier, or if he can bring his tackle floor up to, say, 60 or more tackles, then this 11 sacks doesn't look quite so bad. But if you're going to have a low tackling floor, you need to have a higher ceiling in the pass, rush, and sack department. So I want to see one of those two jump up, or if both of them can jump up, I think he definitely will make a case for himself to jump into and make that tier of 6 edge rushers there at the top, maybe a tier of 7. So there's my case for Will Anderson to round us out in the top 10. Before we get into the rest of the show, I just want to tell everybody a little bit about our friends over at Fast Draft. Now is a great time to get in on some best ball drafts with Fast Draft. Don't know what best ball is? It's pretty easy. Join, keep your trigger finger ready, 20-second clocks. But draft 6 rounds, forget about your team, come back before the season, set your boosters, there's multipliers you can apply to your players, and let the app do the rest. Every week, your most optimal 4-player lineup is set for you. Check back at the end of the season, see which lineups you created, won some cash. There's an all flex position draft, an all rookie draft, an IDP only draft. Get Fast Draft today. Use code PLUSX for a first time deposit match up to $50. These tournaments pay out hundreds of positions and have thousands of dollars up for grabs. Go in there, draft several teams, check back at the end of the season, see if you won some cash. Have fun and draft faster today. Use code PLUSX. Get that deposit match. Now let's jump into top 11 to 20. We've got Brian Burns, edge rusher for the New York Giants at 11. Danielle Hunter at 12, edge rusher for the Texans. TJ Edwards, linebacker for the Chicago Bears at 13. 14th overall, we've got Ernest Jones, linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks. Then we've got Deion Henley, linebacker for the LA Chargers at 15. 16, we've got Jared Verse, edge rusher for the LA Rams. Then we've got linebacker for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Foyesade Oluokun at 17. At 18, we've got Trey Hendrickson, the edge rusher for the Cincinnati Bengals. Jonathan Grenard, Minnesota Vikings edge rusher at 19, and Logan Wilson rounds us out at 20, linebacker for the Cincinnati Bengals. Burns and Danielle Hunter at the top of the 11 to 20 here kind of make for solid floor play at edges after the initial group. Some guys you can kind of draft and rely on, but don't really have quite the upside of the guys at the top. So, but they have that year-over-year production we like to see, so high floor players. Then you get TJ Edwards and Forsett Aluakon are high floor linebackers who have proven year-over-year they can get 150 or more tackles. Forsett kind of presents the higher upside player here, where he should he return to pre-injury form, but again he did go down, so we kind of have that little bump down for him. Otherwise, in years past, he'd be up there with Roquan Smith and guys like that. So then we've got Deion Henley and Ernest Jones. Ernest Jones has put up a couple of extra years over Henley in terms of year-over-year production, so that's kind of where we have Ernest Jones a little bit higher here. But he's kind of taken a little bit of a dip, proven not quite as consistent as he changes over to a new regime, but having a year under his belt, maybe he can kind of bring those numbers back up because he has proven to have a pretty high ceiling. So then you've got Deion Henley, who put up some ridiculous numbers last season in his second season after he got an opportunity in LA. So he had 142 tackles overall, but with the more even splits we saw, where he got kind of almost an even split of solo to assisted tackle ratio, I'd like to see him kind of concentrate that more on the solo tackle side and be able to kind of get us extra points in that front. But nonetheless, 142 tackles is pretty impressive for a guy like that. He's a pure tackler and kind of a pass deflector in coverage. He's pretty good in coverage there too, so he'll get you some points in that part of the game as well, and you're not just strictly limited to tackles. But again, he doesn't have much upside other than that. He's not really really flashy guy. He's not going to go rush the passer, get some forced fumbles or anything like that. But Henley is definitely made a splash in the overall rankings here. So then we get into some Jared Verse, who I talked about on my defensive lineman ranking show, had some underlying pass rush metrics that were among the top in the league as a rookie. Top 10 in several metrics, indicating a huge chance for him to jump up from his measly 4.5 sacks a year ago and build on that high tackle floor of 66 tackles that we saw for a defensive lineman. That's an outstanding floor. If he can bring the 4.5 tackles up to around the 10 plus mark, we're looking really good, and he could even make himself a case to potentially, sneak up on that top tier of edge rushers that I mentioned earlier. So then we get into Trey Hendrickson and Jonathan Grenard are about the end of the perennial defensive lineman performers that I like to draft here before I just jump right into linebackers. So the position at defensive lineman gets a little shakier, with consistency historically, but these guys put up points every year and have some good upside. So then you get Wilson, who rounds out the top 20 after he went down in 2024 with a knee injury that sidelined him for much of the season, so he takes a little bit of a dip. But he was on pace for 160 or more tackles, well on his way to a career year last year, but we just have some tempered expectations as I anticipate a step back from that level of efficiency, especially coming off of an injury. Before we get into the last little bit of our show, I just want to tell you all a little bit about what we have going on. Go ahead and get a leg up on your opponents with Bob Lung's 10th annual edition of the Fantasy Football Consistency Guide for 2025. Check it out. 10 years now, he's put out some great stuff about consistency in fantasy football. Get your leg up on your opponents for a measly $15 today. Go check that out on Big Guy Fantasy Sports. It's available on Amazon. $15, help you win your leagues. If you're already putting in subscription money, you might as well go check that out. While you're at it, go ahead and get your 2025 Fantasy Football Expo tickets at thefantasyfootballexpo.com. It's this August, the 8th through the 10th, in Canton, Ohio. Go check out the new fan packages. You can join us and other well-known content creators in the NFL Hall of Fame and Village. So now, let's jump into the last 16. We've got Zach Bond, linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles at 21. At 22, we've got Edgerrin Cooper, the Green Bay Packers second-year linebacker. Bobby Okereke at 23, linebacker for the New York Giants. Then we've got Frankie Louvu, linebacker for the Washington Commanders at 24. Brian Branch is the first defensive back in my rankings at 25. Then we get Josh Hines-Allen, the edge rusher for the Jacksonville Jaguars at 26. Then we've got a whole bunch of linebackers. Terrell Bernard, linebacker for the Buffalo Bills at 27. At 28, we've got Jordan Brooks, linebacker for the Dolphins. Then we've got Jamie Sherwood at 29, linebacker for the New York Jets. Jack Campbell, Detroit Lions, third-year linebacker for coming in at number 30. At 31, we've got Caden Ellis, linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons. Derwin James is our second defensive back on the board here at 32, safety for the LA Chargers. Then we've got Trayvon Walker, edge rusher for the Jacksonville Jaguars at 33. Andrew Van Ginkel, Minnesota edge rusher at 34. Harold Landry at 35, edge rusher for the New England Patriots. And then at 36, we've got Azeez Al-Shaair, linebacker for the Houston Texans, rounding out the top 36. So let's jump back up to 21. Zach Bond, linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles, is coming off a career year where he finished as a top 3 linebacker. And I'm likely way under consensus here, but I just need another year or two from a freshly broken out 28-year-old linebacker before I can see him jumping up the rankings here. I want to see more proven production on a stat sheet. There's too many proven and much younger talents on the board above him for him to kind of jump up too much in my rankings here, because given such an effective season where he came out as top 3 linebacker overall, I do expect some regression. A lot of people probably have him in their top 5 right now, and although he may achieve that, I want to see him put it on paper again before I can comfortably rank him up there, because there's too many guys up there that have already done it year over year that I have up there pretty comfortably. So I have tempered expectations on Zach Bond to regress a little bit from his linebacker 3 overall season. I think we can kind of expect a top 15, 20 or something like that. So just expect a little bit of a jump back from Zach Bond's super efficient season last year. Then we get into some Edgerrin Cooper, who could completely take over a full-time position in Green Bay at linebacker this year, maybe even that green dot roll over Quay Walker if things go right. He's already presented a high tackle floor in just one part-time season as a rookie linebacker, and especially considering that Green Bay linebackers feast if they can stay on the field. That's just been the kind of trouble and headache with Quay Walker at this point in his career, is that he can't stay healthy or stay on the field to be able to soak up all those tackles for us, so he's kind of been unreliable. But I think Edge Cooper can take over that position, and they kept Isaiah McDuffie as an LB3 there as what I imagine is kind of a just-in-case kind of player in case Quay Walker can't prove to remain on the field. So then we jump into some Bobby Okereke and Frankie Louvu. At this point, they are outstanding values in terms of linebackers, because one's coming off an injury, so he's kind of got that injury discount, and then the other, and he also has top 5 proven LB upside in Bobby Okereke, and the other is among the best pass rushing linebackers in the league. 2 guys definitely worth swooping in for a buy low on a high-end result opportunity if you can go get them at an affordable price in your IDP leagues. Great floor play linebackers who we can rely on at this point in our IDP rankings. Then we get some Brian Branch, first defensive back off the board, the nickel back for the Detroit Lions. At 25 overall, unless your league just doesn't reward defensive backs at all, this is a good chance to get an anchor for your defensive back slot. And I think at 25, considering we're well into the meat of defensive linemen and linebacker positions, the upside with Branch is outstanding and will be there for a long time, so you won't have to worry about this position. And you can pretty well rely on this for the foreseeable future. He's already presented over 100 tackle upside with 109 last year, 79 of which were solos, so some outstanding splits as a sophomore player in the NFL. And then he also had 16 pass deflections and caught 4 interceptions, so there's even more upside there as well. He's right around the line of scrimmage, getting a lot of tackles, in on big plays. We like to see that in our defensive backs. At this point, I feel safe about locking up that position. Then we've got Josh Hines-Allen at 26. Edge rusher for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He presents a very high ceiling on a week-to-week basis for defensive linemen in this range, but he's not really a player that you want to anchor your position in your roster. So he'll go up and win you a week, but then he'll kind of disappear for much of the season. So he's more of like a best ball play. I would bump him up in best ball, but because of those big weeks and whatnot, and he'll end up finishing overall fairly high because of those big weeks. But like I said, it's going to be on the back of like a couple of games here and there. He's going to disappear for much of the season. So I don't like that inconsistency. But who knows? Maybe with some more life under Jacksonville, maybe he can kind of prove to get a little bit of a floor under himself, kind of build that up. But then we get into this next group of linebackers that are kind of like your mom's steak and potatoes. You know what you're getting, and it's always delicious. You can pick your favorite of the linebackers here: Bernard, Brooks, Sherwood, Campbell, Ellis. You can make a case for any one of these guys here as they are the primary linebacker for their respective teams for this foreseeable future. My favorite of this group is kind of an Ellis Sherwood combo, just because, likely because they emerged via the waiver wire. I love players like that who can make a career by seizing a window of opportunity. So if these guys came in off the wire, I picked them up personally in a couple of my leagues, and it's been outstanding. I love to make a living on the wire there in my IDP leagues. Then we've got Derwin James II, defensive back, safety for the Chargers here. Second defensive back on the board at 32. He's a tried and true safety with a bit less tread on the tires than Branch, but he's got just as much, if not more, upside. He's got a floor of a couple of sacks this season, so he's rushing the passer. He stuffs the box score with forced fumbles, interceptions, and a healthy dose of tackles, where he averages over 100 per season throughout his career. He's a no-brainer defensive back to consider locking in at such a volatile position at this point in our rankings, so I like some Derwin James there at 32. Andrew Van Ginkel comes in next at 33. He's really made a splash in the scene the last couple of years. He's a late breakout at 28 years old, and he's got a stacked defensive line in Minnesota, and likely has the community wary about his potential to maintain the numbers he's put up the last couple of seasons. At this point, he's a great value with year-over-year upside that we've seen, so he's already kind of developed this floor since he's emerged and moved to the edge rusher position full-time. We just hope at this point in his career he can hold off a hungry rookie in Dallas Turner to stay on the field for us in IDP. Then we've got Harold Landry there at 35. Is a great value as well, with potential to climb the ranks should he break the mold in New England, where we've historically seen New England edge rushers rotate and not really have as much of a full-time role. Should he break that role, he can probably jump up the rankings here. But again, we just kind of want to see him jump up to more full-time snap numbers. So he's got kind of a limited upside, but he's got outstanding consistency and a pretty high floor play here. So we just want to see those snaps. Then Azeez Al-Shaair rounding us out at 36, presents a high ceiling kind of linebacker, as we've seen him get over 160 tackles in a season, but he took quite a bit of a step back last season as he got the injury bug and was just very inefficient overall. Now he has more proven talent around him, so that kind of muddies the water a bit as to the intentions of this team moving forward. Are they going to look to kind of rotate there? He was inefficient, and so maybe they're going to try to rotate and keep people fresh, which will end up hurting his value. But he does have that kind of upside should he maintain the role the full-time role and continue on the level of efficiency that we've seen him be able to put up before. But he's got to get back to that because we haven't seen it in a couple of years. So that's why he's at 36 there. I imagine he keeps his primary role, but his pace last season was not encouraging. So before we get out of here, I just want to say thank you for watching, everybody. New watchers, return watchers, thank you very much. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, set those notifications so you can stay up to date on all of our YouTube content. Check out the great tools and content on the website as well. We hope you'll consider a subscription to unlock a bunch of subscriber-only perks to help you win your fantasy football leagues. There's a lot of great folks here eager to help you get to the promised land. If you have any questions on a player or two from this list or somebody that's not on it, please feel free to comment on the video and I will address it, or you can message me on X at AxemanIDP. But thanks again, everybody, for watching this episode of the IDP podcast. We'll see you next week for another episode.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.